What's up, YouTube, and welcome to the next entry in my Gamer Pro Tip series, which is all about different techniques and tools to make your life as a gamer easier. So today's topic is all about cleaning Super Nintendo games, and it's more of a do's and don'ts list. One thing that you've probably noticed is that the price of Super Nintendo cartridges has skyrocketed over the last few years, and also the selection of those in tip-top condition has suffered greatly. So today, I'm going to talk about some ways that you can save some games that have seen better days as far as condition. A few pointers before we get too far into this is I'm going to talk about a few of the different types of cartridges you're likely to run into as far as label variation quality as well as cartridge design itself. All of these things are key things to keep in mind whenever you're talking about whether to save or pass on a Super Nintendo cartridge that has some label damage of some sort. By far the most common thing you're going to run into is video store stickers. It seems like Super Nintendo games, more than anything else, were very prone to being used in rental stores. So you might come across a game like this that looks to be in pretty good condition. This is an example of Blazon, a shooter for the Super Nintendo by Atlas. And on the front, it looks pretty good. I wouldn't hesitate to pass on this cartridge if I saw it in a store. It looks like it's in pretty good condition. However, if you flip it over, you run into the dreaded Blockbuster stickers. So this one is kind of an extreme example of one that had a lot of Blockbuster stickers on the back of the cartridge. And a couple things to keep in mind whenever you're running into a game like this is it worth trying to save portions of the cartridge? So, a couple key call-outs here. If the stickers are just on the back of the cartridge like this one, and the front of the cartridge looks okay, you can conveniently swap the back of the Super Nintendo cartridge. You just need a security bit tool to open these two screws on the front, and then you will remove the back of the cartridge, flip it out, and that's that. Well, it seems that easy. However, there's a couple other things to keep in mind. There are some variations to the way the cartridges were designed. This is a very early cartridge, and it has the vertical line here with no notchy cutout at the bottom here. So if you take a look at one of these later cartridges, you will see there are some notches. And the backs of these are not necessarily interchangeable, so you'll just kind of have to take a few cartridges and see which ones you can and can't swap out. What I would suggest, though, for a game like this is rather than try to salvage this by cleaning all these stickers off the back, would just be to find a cheap sports game that has a compatible cartridge type, swap out the back, and you're in good shape. So another good way to save a more valuable cartridge just by using a cheap cartridge as a donor cart. A couple other callouts I have about this game is that because this was a very early release, these were the ones that were more likely made in Japan, and that is a good thing as far as the label quality that was on the cartridge. So actually, if we look a little closer, you can see there's some tape residue on the cartridge itself, and that's because Blockbuster liked to use packing tape to put a label over the front of the cartridge. It looks like somebody's already had a crack at getting most of that residue off the front, and we could probably save this cartridge by using some Goo Gone back here, which I'm going to talk about shortly. So these are actually the best labels to work on if you're working on label damage of the card itself, because these early made in Japan labels are glossy. You can probably even see some of the reflection off of it. That's a good thing. That will help you work on the cartridge without necessarily wearing through the label itself. Okay, so these are, good cartridges, these early carts. They're very likely to be saved and respond very well to a good clean job. By contrast, I'm going to show you what some of the late cartridges look like. And Capcom, unfortunately, was one of the companies more prone to use these later cartridge variations, which, as you can see, are now made in Mexico. So the issue with the made in Mexico cartridges is that typically there is no gloss on this label. And if this was a label that had a bunch of stickers on it, I would not try to save it. If you start putting Goo Gone on this, you're likely to wear right through the label, and you're going to rub the label off with the stickers. I'll show an example of how that happens here in a moment. However, this is one that I actually did save. It had some tape on the top of it, and even as surgically careful as I was being, you can see there is a little bit of wear to the cartridge here, and here. However, this is a very expensive game. It doesn't bother me too much because it looks way better than it used to, and this one responded well to the cleaning. However, because it's one of those made in Mexico cartridges, you have to be very, very careful. Okay, So let's look at some other possibilities here. So another game that somebody else had a crack at before I got to it was this one. This is another late model, made in Mexico cartridge, and it had that Blockbuster packing tape over the label. So not only were they not very careful, you can see how they ripped right through the label and is now down to bare plastic on the cartridge. Fortunately, this is also a very expensive game. I got it at a massive discount due to the condition, but this is an example of why you need to make a judgment call of whether you want to even try to save the cartridge, especially if it's one of these late release games that doesn't have the glossy coating. So I just wanted to show that as another example. Alright, what else are you likely to run into with Super Nintendo games? Well, you might get something like this. This is Adventures of Spike McFang. It is a made in Japan cartridge, which is a good thing. And this one really doesn't have any sticker damage to report on. However, it has the other common Super Nintendo issue, which is massive cartridge fading. I don't know how well that's showing up on the camera. There's probably a better angle. And this tends to happen just because there are two different types of plastic that were mated together, and one of those will typically show major fading in certain instances with Super Nintendo games, much like the system itself if you've seen a faded Super Nintendo. So for a game like this one, this is actually a fortunate way that it faded, is that it's on the back half of the cartridge. I would just again recommend take the top of the cartridge, swap it out to a different back from a game that didn't have all this fading, and it will look in much better condition. So this is on my to-do list. Another thing I want to show you though when taking off stickers. Certain types of stickers respond to cleaning better than others. So if you were to see a paper sticker over the label, like this one used to have, you might be able to get the sticker off very well, even though this was a made in Mexico game. Those paper type stickers tend to dry up over time. It's 20 years later, and typically they'll just peel right off the label without causing you much problem. However, the glue that was holding those paper stickers on is right here, and it's kind of like an atomic glue that even Goo Gone will not get off. So you just have to be careful with that. It's another type of video store sticker that's very common, and it's really hard to say what to do with it. You just have to look out for those. So again, keep in mind, when buying an expensive cartridge is your likelihood of being able to save it. And this here is not an expensive cartridge, but I just wanted to show you an example of what that damage can look like, that you're probably not going to be able to get off even after removing the label. Okay, so let's get down to it. I brought a cartridge that needs some serious love. This is probably the most stickered cartridge I have in my collection. I mean, this video store, Video Time, wherever they're from, really wanted to make sure that this game stayed their property. So we have the very common silver video store stickers here, 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 unfortunately on the label, and it's a Mexico cartridge, and we even have some of that paper sticker damage I was just showing you on this cartridge. Flipping it over, we have more things to work with. We've got marker, we've got a sticker over the back label, and then you see those wraparound silver stickers. Okay, a few key call-outs here. We can probably get most of this black marker off with the use of a magic eraser. This is just one that I've used several times, broken off a chunk of it. The key thing to remember with magic erasers is get them very good and wet before rubbing on the cartridge, because ultimately this is sandpaper and you are going to be sanding off the surface of the cartridge. The wetter it is, the least damage you will do to the surface of the cartridge, and what will happen is you're still going to lose some of the grain, if you can hear that, to the Nintendo style cartridges. So it's up to you. Does that look worse, or does a slicked over back cartridge look better? Again, you can make a judgment call on whether it's worth fixing, and also the severity of where the black marker is. Okay. This is one of those paper style stickers I was talking about, and if you peel this off the front label of the game, you're very likely to leave that nasty glue behind, and sometimes it'll also bubble up on the cartridge. So these are also the type that you really want to watch out for. Another call out. These video store stickers here with the silver, these are actually your friend. These aren't that bad. So what happens is when you peel these off, I'm hoping I can get this one off without having to work on it too hard, you're going to see this happen. Oh no, it's void. They know I stole the game or whatever. That was the intention of the sticker originally. So you're thinking that's probably even worse than what I just had. However, this stuff responds super well to Goo Gone. So I'm going to take some Goo Gone here in a moment and show you how I'm going to clean this up. Probably will do a jump cut here just to get it going, but this is not too bad, and this will respond very good to a cleaning. The other thing I have to take a look at is this label. Do I want to risk trying to peel this label off, knowing that it's a made in Mexico cart and these labels are very, very thin? This is a somewhat uncommon game, so it's probably worth trying to save. It obviously doesn't look good like it is, so really this is one that I can make a judgment call that no matter what I do to it, it's going to make it look better than it probably does right now. Okay, so I'm about to take a crack at the void stickers. I'll show you the result of that with some Goo Gone cleaning here in a moment. One thing I do want to call out is if you do buy some Goo Gone, and again, this is just my favorite way to clean the cartridges, make sure you get the kind that just comes in a liquid in a bottle like this. There is a spray Goo Gone that's orange, and to me it just doesn't work as well. I much prefer this. So in order to get your Goo Gone working, you're just going to unscrew the cap there. I like to use a paper towel just to have a little bit of texture whenever I'm rubbing on it. It seems to work really well. You could use whatever you prefer. Maybe a cloth would work better. And you're just going to squeeze a little bit out on the towel until you see just kind of a puddle on the paper towel. Then you're good to go. So I'm going to take a crack at this void sticker here for a second, and we'll see how this responds to the Goo Gone. So I'm not rubbing incredibly hard here. And this is just a few seconds of rubbing. And look at that already. That's much improved. So what I'm going to do with this one is, since it's kind of in the cracks there, I'm also going to take a Q-tip with some Goo Gone and really work on that just to make sure I get that edge clean. In a couple moments here, I'm going to tear off the rest of these stickers, work on cleaning this cartridge, and after the jump cut, I'll show you what the progress was. So hang tight, and I'll be back here in a moment. Okay, and after about 10 minutes of scrubbing and peeling, this is the end result. Is it perfect? No. However, probably took this game from, a 3 out of 10 on the condition scale to maybe at least a 6 out of 10. So let's just recap what we did, just to make sure you guys know there was no smoke and mirrors. Here is my mess from all the stuff I cleaned off. So here we have all those video time stickers, and I even decided to take a crack at that paper sticker that was on the back. So I'll show you the results of that here in a second. But as far as the cartridge goes, the front looks much more presentable. Just like I said before, this has some of that paper glue sticker on the front that I didn't even attempt to get off. Because this is one of those Mexican-made cartridges, I'm afraid that's going to rub off the label if I try to get that off. However, I did get that nasty video time sticker off the front here that was overlapping the label, and it worked out pretty good. It left a very tiny nick right there, but overall, much, much better than how it looked originally. And then flipping over the cartridge, again, it's not perfect. Just for the sake of the video, I did decide to take off that plastic sticker that was on the back label. Normally, I would have assumed that that would have just ripped right through the back label. However, this time it didn't rip it, but it wrinkled it. It started to lift up the glue on the back label as I removed it. So it's not perfect, but I just wanted to show you an example of what happens with those. Those are really dangerous stickers. Also took a little nick out of the top of the back label there whenever I was getting that peel over sticker on, but still looks a lot better. So the big thing here with the magic eraser is, if you remember, it said property of video time in black marker on this strip here. Sanded away at that with the magic eraser. It's not perfect. There's a slight residue of the black marker, but video time is not going to be calling for this cartridge back is ultimately the result. So just wanted to show you what you can do with a little bit of elbow grease, some Goo Gone, and a magic eraser to your Super Nintendo cartridges. Very helpful if you're trying to save some that are in questionable condition. Again, you might as well take a shot at it if you really think that you can be gentle. These cartridges aren't really made to take that much liquid and rubbing, let's just put it that way. I will also give a call out that a Sega Genesis cartridge, those labels pretty much have no laminate on the label itself, so I don't recommend trying to get stickers off of Genesis label itself. Cartridge is very durable, and you can get stickers off those no problem. And NES games are pretty much more durable than the Super Nintendo games, so they tend to respond pretty well to Goo Gone. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Again, this is not the only way to clean your cartridges. It is one way to clean your cartridges. So if there's another way that you prefer, please leave me a comment. Let me know what you prefer to do. I take no responsibility if you go and damage your Hagane cartridge after trying the techniques in this video. However, for me, they are very useful, and I've continued to use them successfully for a lot of my games. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Please take a moment, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think, and have a great day or night wherever you are.